Hey there, welcome to this episode of the Cutting Room Floor. We're looking at the theme of Christ's return and what does this mean for us in eternity? What do we have to look forward to, especially during the season of Advent as we look forward to the birth of Jesus? We also focus on the second coming of Jesus. And I know a lot of you have wondered, you've asked some questions about what is that like. Today, I want to really ask a question about what is heaven going to be like? And we looked yesterday at a passage from First Peter, and in First Peter, you'll remember that Peter describes in great detail the purification that will happen, the fire, the consuming fire that happens, and he talks about how everything will be consumed and will be dissolved. That has led some people to conclude that the ultimate destiny for this world is complete incineration and to have nothing left but like cinders and ashes. And then from there, then we get sort of evacuated to an entirely new place. I'm not sure that that's entirely consistent with what Peter is saying, nor with the rest of what the New Testament or what Scripture has to say, although I understand why a person might conclude that. One of the things that we have to remember is something that I touched on yesterday, which is that the fire that is described in First Peter is in some ways it's really the fire of purification. Now, so when you purify gold or you purify silver, what you do is you heat it up to a point where it changes its properties essentially. Like it, I'm not a chemist or a expert in that sense, but it turns from a solid into a liquid. And then the impurities are able to be burned off and consumed off, and then you're able to reconstitute it as a solid again. I think that's what Peter has in mind here. I think he's talking about the judgment of God coming in such a way that it completely incinerates or not incinerates, but it completely purifies and cleanses all of creation by entirely removing every vestige of sin and evil and corruption and damage and decay. And it is absolutely a total and complete thing. I'm not trying to downplay this. This is a cataclysmic event. But I don't think it's accurate to say that nothing is left but cinders and ashes so that we can all get to a different place. I think this is the intense purification of heavens and earth. And then you'll notice, like, one of the other places we get our understanding is of heaven is from Revelation chapter 21, and I'm going to pull this up on the screen for us. This is really John's vision of the final, once heaven arrives, once the judgment has taken place, then John is showing us what really awaits us, and here's what he's getting at. He says he sees a new heavens and a new earth, but what I want to, you've heard that before. Then he says, New Jerusalem. Notice this: it's coming down out of heaven. Now, in some senses, that's a little bit of an odd thing to expect, because rather than believers, leaving this earth and going up to where God is, it's actually God that comes down, and it's God's dwelling place that comes down, which is, I think, a way of saying that really the ultimate picture of what heaven is in some ways it's not so much an actual location in the way that we often think of it. I think we have to look at this just slightly different. I think we have to recognize that really heaven is a dimension. It is a reality of God's full presence, and that comes down and is established here on earth. And again, that's reinforced here, the dwelling place of God. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. Now, the other thing that, of course, is worth noting here is that heaven is described here as a city. It's described as a place of cultural activity and a place of building and commerce and all kinds of other things that are associated with it. And I think that's telling. Now, I'm not saying that there's not green space in heaven. I'm not saying that there's not agriculture in heaven. I'm not saying any of that, but I am saying that heaven is depicted as a place where there's activity, there's things going on, and you and I will have a part to play in that. I said this a number of weeks ago in one of these videos where we talked about heaven being a place where we will have responsibilities. We will be exercising authority over the nations. Now, What exactly that looks like, I'm not sure. But heaven is not a place where we sit idly by and really do nothing. Heaven is a place where we will be busy, but the work that we will do, and the commerce and the activity that we will carry out will all be done in perfection. It will not bear the taint or the mark of sin in any way. It will be completely new, completely transformed, and so much better. And most of all, the most important part, of course, is that we will be in the presence of God, and we will enjoy that in all possible ways. So heaven is it's the renewal of all creation. I believe that I believe that we have good reason to think that much of what we see in this world, there will be continuity. So if you enjoy visiting the Hawaiian Islands, or if you enjoy the Swiss Alps, or you enjoy the forests in Oregon or the coastline, I believe, again, I want to be careful not to overstate here, but I do believe that we will be able to enjoy these things in the new heavens and the new earth. But I believe we'll be able to enjoy them in a perfected sense. Leif Enger has this place in one of his books where he talks about, the stones feeling more alive, and the water is more drenching, and the weather is part of it's not just in the background. And so he has this vivid picture, and I think that's right. Like I tend to think that we will experience the world as it is, but in its perfected sense. And I think we can only imagine what that will be like, but I think it will be absolutely splendid. I believe we'll be able to, again, my personal belief, there's no place in the Bible I can point to that says airtight that this is so, but I believe that we'll be able to explore galaxies and universe, and there'll be no end to what we can see and discover in God's world. And so, but again, all in the presence of God and all in a perfected sense. Revelation also talks about, this is a little earlier, and I'll stop the screen share now, but talks about bringing the wealth of the nations into the city. And I think that suggests that maybe the cultural products of all of history will be a part of heaven. Nobody really knows exactly what that phrase means about the artifacts of the nations, the treasures of the nations. There's a lot of speculation, but I think it does make sense to see that these may be the cultural products that have been perfected and have brought through and have been refined through judgment, and now get to be part of the new heavens and the new earth. So, can you imagine what that's look like? I have lots of ideas, but whispering where scripture whispers and shouting where it shouts. This is sort of maybe more towards a whisper, but I think for good reason. I believe that we'll be able to enjoy so much of what we do see and enjoy in this creation, in this world today, but in a much perfected sense. So, hey, thanks for watching this episode of the Cutting Room Floor. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Do you have questions that you'd want to see addressed, or feedback? I'd love to see it, and maybe respond to some of it. All right. We'll see you next time.